Hello, Indianapolis moms. It is Kate here, the owner of Indianapolis Moms, and I'm really excited to have a wonderful conversation with two amazing women today from Family Choice Surrogacy. We are going to talk about being a surrogate and all things surrogacy today. So before we get started, Leah and Christy, will you both go ahead and introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about your role within Family Choice Surrogacy?
Sure, I'll start. My name is Leah Potter, and I am the founder and program director here at Family Choice Surrogacy.
Wonderful.
Hi.
Christy.
My name is Christy Telke, and I have been the surrogate coordinator with Family Choice Surrogacy since 2018. And I am also a two-time surrogate, delivering in 2015 and 2017.
Wonderful. So you have all the expertise as well.
Well, sure.
Well, we are really excited to chat with you today and learn more about Family Choice Surrogacy, as well as, kind of some of the questions that we do have about being a surrogate and, what goes on with that. So let's go ahead and get started. And Leah, I want you to go ahead and share with us more about Family Choice Surrogacy. Tell us more about it. Just give us the rundown.
Sure. So, Family Choice Surrogacy, we are located here in Indiana, and our agency was founded after my own infertility experience. My husband and I went through infertility many, many years ago. We were eventually lucky enough to have our son, who is almost 15.
Wow.
And it was just one of the most emotionally impactful journeys that I'd ever been on in my life. And so I stayed home with him for a couple of years and then just decided that I really wanted to help other people who were trying to build their families. And worked at a law firm that specialized in third-party reproduction for several years, and decided I wanted to create an agency that I felt served their parents and their surrogates better. So we're a small, intimate agency, and we just believe that we'd like to deliver that intimate experience for everyone that we work with. And we provide, just really close partnerships with everyone that we work with. And we've created the program to serve what we believe to be the parents and surrogates in a much better way.
I love that, it was built basically on your own experience as well. You have the background and, your own experience in infertility. I think that's really important for someone that is going into, surrogacy or, interested in moving forward with the process. So can you share with us a little bit about surrogacy? So who or why does someone choose surrogacy as a way to become parents?
Sure. So surrogacy oftentimes is a last resort for many couples who have experienced infertility and loss, trying to build their families. They may have gone through many rounds of IVF. They may have been born with certain conditions or have certain medical conditions that don't allow them to carry their own child. And it's also a great option for same-sex parents to have a biological child through surrogacy.
I love that. Love that. So, Christy, I want to chat with you a little bit.
Yes.
And I know you said you were a two-time surrogate, correct?
Correct.
So can you tell us why does a woman choose to become a surrogate?
Yeah, so there are a couple reasons. I think it's important to note, in order to be a surrogate, you have had to give birth yourself and to actively raise a child. And so these women have experienced healthy pregnancies. They are the women who often will say, I just loved being pregnant. Pregnancy went well for me. I enjoyed it. They're often done building their own family, but maybe they're not done with the desire to be pregnant, and they know what it feels like to have children or a child and to have that gratification of being a parent, and they want to help others achieve that in their lives. And so they are trying to grow families and doing something that makes them feel good and help others as well. And they there is a financial compensation aspect to it, but I'm 9 out of 10 times, this is a secondary reason. Our surrogates aren't necessarily doing this because of that financial component, but they can use that compensation to help, things in their family, such as paying off debt and creating funding for their child's future and things of that nature. But the biggest reason that we see is just women who want to help others experience the love and the joy that they have with raising their own children.
And for people that aren't able to.
Correct.
So
and that's a good point too, is that most of the time when we are consulting with these women, they know someone who personally has experienced infertility, and that really touches their heart. And this is a way that they feel that they can help and make a difference.
That's really cool. I love that. So we talked about why women or a woman would become a surrogate. So talk a little bit more about the basic requirements. I know you said you had to have, been pregnant and raised a child on your own. What are some of the basic requirements for becoming a surrogate?
Yep. Your minimum age that you can be to participate in surrogacy is 21. And then generally 40 to 45 is kind of the cutoff point in which we can get a surrogate approved with a reproductive endocrinologist doctor. Aside from having the child on her own and actively raising that child, you need to be a legal citizen of the U.S. You need to have a healthy BMI. Generally speaking, we don't see clinics approving many surrogates over the BMI of like 34. That's kind of that range that they prefer. A non-smoker, no use of recreational drugs or alcohol abuse. You're financially stable. You're not utilizing any financial or government assistance, and you have reliable transportation and good family support.
And I will, when we conclude this, we can put more information about becoming a surrogate.
Yes.
But I know you definitely do have all those requirements or more information on your website.
Absolutely.
Correct?
Yeah, that is correct.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So you also talked a little bit about surrogates being paid or the financial aspect. So, going into surrogacy, clearly it's not, a lot of it is, the emotional aspect. You want to help somebody. So the pay, being paid for it, how does that work? And what does compensation kind of look like?
Yeah. So I think it's important to know too that the surrogacy journey can range from about 12 to 18 months from start to finish. And there's a lot of time and effort and appointments and physical aspects that go into being a surrogate. And so it is important that these women are compensated to some level. We do not believe in a one-size-fits-all surrogacy compensation package. We think that this is a number that we can help these surrogates and their family come together in what they feel is comfortable for them. In general, the range of compensation is anywhere from 30 to 40,000 currently. And that number is what we call our base compensation number. And that's often that big number that you may see when it's discussed with surrogacy and compensation in general. But when it comes to the compensation package, there are various other allotments that the surrogate will receive during the pregnancy. For example, she can receive a compensation for maternity clothing allowance or for travel reimbursements and childcare and things of that nature. But in general, the big number, as I said, is that $30,000 to $40,000 range.
So is that something that is decided upon with, you as the agency as well as the surrogate and then the family? Is that correct?
Yes. So when we are working with the surrogate through the screening process, we show them a sample compensation package that kind of outlines generally what is involved in a surrogate compensation. But we do not make it a standard. We don't say every surrogate within our agency has to get this exact same amount. We just feel like it's very important to have their input. And if they have a partner or spouse they would like to include them as well, because compensation can be a very sensitive topic and people have different feelings towards that amount than others. And so we want to make sure that they feel comfortable with what they are asking and moving forward with that amount. And that number is part of their profile and what is represented and sent over to the intended parents when we are doing our matching process. So it's very transparent and open from the get-go.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Totally. Mm-hmm. So, Leah, I'd love to chat with you a little bit. You know, I think sometimes there are a little bit of questions and hesitations. So, some families may be worried that the surrogate will become attached to the baby. So, won't the surrogate want to keep the baby, or can the surrogate keep the baby? How does that work?
Sure. So that's probably one of the most frequently asked questions that I receive from potential intended parents, potential surrogates, or people who just don't know a lot about surrogacy. So as Christy mentioned, we typically require that she has completed her own family. So she does not desire to bring any more children into her family. In addition to that, there's a psychological evaluation that the surrogate goes through that includes psychological testing. So we do this during her qualification process. So we want to make sure that from a psychological perspective, she is prepared and mentally capable of embarking on this journey. So we try to do as much as we can to minimize those risks. Typically, the surrogate, if she's attached to anyone, it's the parents that she's working with. So, she's doing this to help them grow their family. And so she wants to see them hold their baby for the first time. That is where she gets her reward from all of the hard work that they've done together. But I also should mention that there's a legal process involved. So in most states that we work in, and surrogacy has a patchwork of laws throughout the United States, but in most states that we work in, we're able to obtain a pre-birth order, which establishes the parent's legal rights to the child and absolves the surrogate of any legal rights to the child. The parent's name is listed on the birth certificate as soon as the baby's born. So we've got this order establishing their parentage before the baby is born, and their names go on the birth certificate, and she has no, legal claims to the child, or, there's no issues from that perspective. And most of the time she's done exactly what she's supposed to do. She's delivered a healthy baby, and she's ready to go home and be with her family at that point in time.
So I would love to elaborate a little bit more on the relationship. So is the baby considered related to the surrogate? And what type of relationship do surrogates typically have with their families after the baby is born?
In surrogacy, there are two different types of surrogacy that people may have heard of. So one would be traditional surrogacy and one would be gestational surrogacy. And family choice surrogacy only works with gestational surrogates. And the basic difference between those two terms is that traditional surrogacy would have a component, the egg, from the surrogate, and there would be a biological connection to that child. However, gestational surrogacy, there is no biological connection between the surrogate and the surrogate child. Okay. And so the embryos created would have either been completely from the intended parents, or perhaps they were needing to use donor egg or sperm to create that embryo. But as I said, family choice surrogacy, we just work with gestational surrogacy. So none of our surrogates are connected biologically to the child. In regards to the relationship, I can speak from personal experience, and the way that it has worked for me and what I most often see with our surrogates is the surrogate looks at the child that they carried, or the children if there was multiples, like you would your niece, your nephew, your best friend's child. You have love, you have hope that they're going to have a successful life and future ahead of them and do great, big, amazing things. And you want nothing but the best for them and for them to live a healthy and fulfilled life. But there is still a very large difference between the love that I feel for those children that I brought into this world via surrogacy and the children that are biologically mine and my husband's. It's very different. And I think it's great that Leah mentioned too, that the relationship and the emotions, it really is strongly towards the intended parents, because you guys are a team this whole, potential 12 to 18 months, as I mentioned earlier, all working towards one common goal. And that is to bring a healthy baby into this world and to see them grow as a family and to love that child. It just is amazing and very fulfilling.
So if you're a surrogate, do you, and I know like after the baby's born, the relationship with that family, do a lot of the families continue to have a pretty strong relationship with the surrogate as far,
Yeah,
Like,
that makes sense.
You know what I mean?
I do, yes. So I would say that this is a very important topic that we discuss during matching is the goals and expectations of relationships during the pregnancy, but then also after the pregnancy. And so we want to make sure that we're always telling both sides to not have, I like to say, not to have a lot of expectations, allow things to grow naturally. And, I think it's important to set communication boundaries and desires, and then allow the relationship to grow into a friendship as it, goes on in time. In regards to the relationship after pregnancy, I think that the majority of our intended parents and surrogates do desire some form of connection. The level of connection can vary, and I don't think that there's a right way or a wrong way to pursue your after pregnancy connection. But in general, most surrogates love to get updates, love to get a Christmas card or just a general check-in on how the child's doing. And I think a lot of intended parents love doing that as well, and letting the surrogate know how things are going and how happy they are and how things are, progressing in that child's life. I do think that they desire to remain connected in some form or fashion.
Okay. I love that. I love that. So Leah, I would love to chat with you a little bit. If someone is interested in becoming a surrogate, how does someone get started with the process?
Sure. So you can find all of the requirements to become a surrogate on our website, and you can also submit an application. One of the first things that we always recommend is research. So this is a journey that is life-changing, and so we want to make sure that our surrogates are educated and they understand exactly what they're undertaking. One of the ways that we do that is we have an education certification course that all of our surrogates complete that walks them through the entire process, along with, of course, consultations with us, reviewing the process and that type of thing. So, the first thing would be to educate yourself if you meet the requirements, educate yourself on the process, submit an application on our website. Also on our Facebook page, you can book a consultation with either Christy or myself just to learn more, to understand exactly what the process entails.
Wonderful. So we will make sure to link your website in the comments. You can read more about Family Choice Surrogacy in the post we have done, and I will also link that in the comments. But I truly appreciate you both chatting more about surrogacy, because I think that it's just such a beautiful experience. And I am just really excited to be able to share with Indianapolis moms and parents more about Family Choice Surrogacy. So thank you so much today.
Thank you for having us. And it was a lot of fun.
Yes. Thank you, Kate. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.